So since the release of this right here, the DJI Action 6, which came out a few weeks ago, when they released this action camera, they also released this right here, which is a macro lens, as well as a wide angle lens for the Action 6. And for the past week or so, I've been using the macro lens a lot more than I thought I would, mainly because I'm able to get the type of shot out of here where I normally would get with something like the DJI Pocket 3. So in this video, I just want to talk a little bit more about my experience using the macro lens as well as the wide angle lens, and thanks to Aura Frames for sponsoring a portion of this video, but more on that later. Now, for those who aren't familiar, DJI did release this right here, which is a macro lens. It's an attachment though. You do need to remove the factory lens here, unscrew it, then you can screw on this macro lens right here, as well as the wide angle lens. Same thing, you have to unscrew this one to screw on the new lens onto the camera. Once you do that, you'll see that there is a ring around the outer edge that shows you a couple little icons. One is a flower, one's a portrait, and other one is mountains. So if you are going to be shooting something really, really close, you're just gonna twist the lens here, just a little red line, move it over to the flower, and now you're able to be about 11 centimeters away and still have that subject in focus. And being able to focus that close definitely is unique with an action camera, because most action cameras have a minimal focus distance about 20 to 30 centimeters away, so you normally have to have the camera pretty far away from your face. But now that macro lens not only allows you to be really close to a subject, the next kind of marking on here is a portrait icon, and this setting right here makes it really nice, especially if you want to vlog with your action camera, which I normally do. All you do is twist that over to that setting, and now once you hold the camera away about 1.5 feet or so away from your face, you will be nice and sharp, and everything in the background becomes nice and soft or a little bit blurry in that background. Again, kind of giving you that depth of field that normally something like the DJI Pocket 3 provides. You can now do it with something like this, your action camera. So right now I have attached is the macro lens on the DJI Action 6, and it's currently set to the portrait setting. There's 3 different settings on there. You can do macro or close up, and that gives you about 11 centimeters focal range distance. And this right here is on the portrait setting, from about 1.5 feet away from my face. I can't really tell if it's in focus. It would be nice if we had some focus peaking on here on the screen. I know you can do it through the app and turn on focus peaking, but it would be nice if we had some sort of indicator on the actual camera itself to see if we're in focus or not. How does that depth of field look, or is there depth of field, and am I in focus or not? That depth of field really is what gives you that, I would say, a little bit more Pocket 3 look. If you were to put these side by side with something like the Pocket 3, having that depth of field is what that Pocket 3 is really kind of known for. That combination right there with the wide open aperture as well as this lens now gives you depth of field, or that blurry background, keeping a subject in focus here on the front, which is something we normally haven't seen on action cameras. And before we talk about the landscape setting here on this macro lens, a quick word from today's sponsor, Aura Frames. And for those who aren't familiar with Aura Frames, they are digital photo frames. And while photo frames in general have been around for a little while, the one thing I like about Aura Frames compared to some of the other ones is that there is no subscription required. There's no monthly fees. Once you download the Aura app, you can start uploading unlimited photos and videos straight to your app, which will then be pushed to your Aura frame. And the frame that I'm using the most right here is called the Carver. This is something that has a little bit more of a timeless design look. So in my household, I'll normally keep it on the island or right behind my couch. And whenever I take new photos on my phone, all I have to do is upload it straight to the Aura app. And then I can choose which photos I want to display straight onto the frames. What's pretty cool too is that if you wanted to gift this to somebody, you can actually preload the frames with a bunch of photos and maybe personalize it with a little message on the frame. So if you're unsure about what to get for somebody during this holiday season, Aura Frames is giving my viewers $35 off of this most popular one, the Carver matte frame. This frame was named #1 by Wirecutter, and if you guys use my promo code FlightPath, you'll get $35 off at checkout. So make sure you guys check those links down below. Huge thanks to Aura Frames for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now, back to the Action 6. Now, when it comes down to the final setting, which is the mountain setting, what's really nice about that is that if you don't necessarily want to have that blurry background look all the time, and you want to have things a bit more in focus or have everything in focus, kind of like a standard action camera where pretty much everything is just in focus. So right now, this is what it looks like on the portrait setting. I'm about a foot away from the camera. See how sharp this looks? I'll just move it around just a little. See how that background looks? Now I'm going to turn the dial here all the way to the end. Now, this should be more in focus. Does it look more in focus? And does it put me out of focus? About a foot and a half away from my face right now. But this should now be a little bit more in focus. If I want to get myself and the background in focus, I'm going to bring it back a couple notches here to maybe like 3 notches. So maybe in between the portrait and the mountain icon. And maybe I can get a little bit more of me in focus, as well as some of the background in focus. So you can kind of play with it and see what fits best or what depth of field you need or want for your shots. And right now, because I'm just holding it here, I'm gonna go back to the portrait icon. And this is what it looks like. How does that background look? Now, while I really like this lens, there's still a couple things I really wish DJI came out with. And the first thing is, I wish they came out with a actual cover to cover the lens, because this is what it comes in, a little clamshell holder. However, once it's on the camera, now this huge lens is exposed. And then when you want to vlog or travel with it and put it in your pocket, you have nothing really to protect it. So I haven't seen anything yet. I'm sure a bunch of third-party companies will come out with a little small, neoprene case or something like that to hold it. Next thing I like to see is ND filters. And I'm sure companies like all the third-party companies, Freewell, and hopefully DJI will also come out with some. ND filters would be really nice for us to use, because now that we have that depth of field, it would be nice to also dial in our exposure a lot better, a lot more, especially if we're shooting in some bright daylights and you want to have just a little bit more natural motion blur in things you're doing. Next, we'll talk about this right here, which is the wide angle lens for the Action 6. And again, you just have to remove the existing one, whether it's the factory lens or the macro lens. Then once you put this on, you can now get a 182-degree field of view once this lens is on here, which is a nice bump up from the factory 155 degrees, which you would normally get without the lens, just with the standard camera and the factory lens on there. The wide angle lens gives you up to 182 degrees. Now, one thing to note is that when these lenses on here, whether it's the wide angle or the macro lens, even though there is some weather sealing here, they do not recommend this for any diving with these lenses on it. They can get wet and there's like splash resistant. Having this extremely wide field of view is definitely something you're gonna wanna pick up, especially if you are into action sports and you don't wanna necessarily use maybe like a 360 camera on your harness or on your chest. Then you would get this right here, because it does provide you probably one of the widest field of views you can get without going into the full 360 camera space. What's also nice about the Action 6 is that when you do screw on either a wide angle or something like the macro lens, the camera automatically detects that a lens has been added to the camera. And just like I mentioned earlier, would have been nice if DJI or another company comes out with a silicone holder or case for this to protect the lens. Again, we have this huge lens protruding from our camera, which means if you drop this thing just like a 360 camera and you were to scratch it up, that lens is going to be pretty much unusable at that point. And there it is, guys, a couple options for you. The macro lens, which I have been really liking. So that depth of field just has a completely different look to the footage. You wouldn't think it's coming from an action camera, but with this macro lens set to portrait when I'm out there vlogging, I'm really liking how sharp that image is, and also that blurry background just gives it that unique feel. Of course, links to these products will be down below in the video description, and huge thanks to Aura Frames for sponsoring a portion of the video. If you guys are looking for a gift to give to your significant other, your parents, or your grandparents to keep them updated with photos and video, make sure you guys check out the link to Aura Frames down below, and don't forget to type in the word flight path for 35 bucks off your Carver matte frame. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is Ultra Anastasio with flightpath.com. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.